Have your blocks handy. And here you might just even just really open up through your whole body, stretching legs long, stretching arms long. And just take a few minutes to move from external sensibilities to internal sensibilities. Drop out of your thought reality, maybe more into your physical reality, your sensational body reality. And then if you don't already have your knees bent, go ahead and bend your knees, take the soles of your feet to the floor. Arms could be out to a T position or go post position, and just softly begin some pelvic tilts. So you might even take your hand, one of your hands, and just place it on the pubic bone. And on the inhale, draw your pubic bone away from your navel. And on your exhale, draw your pubic bone back towards your navel. So the pubic bone will be one of our landmarks for the pelvic floor. So just really identifying where that is, and then a few pelvic tilts. And then this next time you draw the pubic bone towards the navel, can you also sort of gather your side waist in as if you were putting a corset on, and tightening up the corset? And then you could take both hands. I'm resting my thumbs on my lower ribs, my floating ribs, and my fingers on my belly. And on your next exhale, feel for drawing the low ribs in towards one another and the side waist in, like you're cinching a bag up, right? A drawstring. As on your inhale, just let everything balloon out. And on your exhale, draw everything in. So you're almost trying to make the ribs, where you're touching the ribs with your thumbs, you're trying to pull those in so tightly to midline that they move away from your thumbs. So again, I'm resting my hands. I have my fingers spread on my belly, and my thumbs are resting on my low ribs, my floating ribs. And on my exhale, I want to draw like I'm drawing the corset really tight, so tight that the low ribs really pull in, and I can barely feel them anymore underneath my thumbs. Okay, we'll leave that for a minute. And now let's bend our knees over hips. And you can take your arms up in the air, straight up in the air. Take a couple breaths here. Just feel the gathering at your core. And on your next exhale, just take your right arm and your right knee out to the right, but keep your pelvis level, and then back to center. And then left knee and left arm out to the left and back to center. So you're not going to let yourself fall all the way over to your side. You're going to keep your pelvis level as you move out and back. one side at a time. And there we go. And then the next time you take let your right knee, your right arm go to the right, let it go to that point where you can't hold it anymore. And you'll come down onto your right side and then bring your left knee on top, left hand on top of right hand. And from here, just slide your left hand across your upper body and open into a twist. Now, can you feel that cinching through the waist? You're cinching up through the waist, and try to draw your navel back to the left, like you could point your navel at the ceiling. And then inhale the top leg up, stack knees again, reach arms up towards the ceiling, and then let your left leg, left arm move out to the left. At some point, you'll just fall over and then rest right knee on left knee and right hand on left hand. Slide your right hand across your upper body and open into a twist. Cinch up at the waist and try to draw your navel back towards the center of your body, like it's pointing up at the ceiling. Good. And then inhale back to center. Take your hands to the front of your shins and draw your knees in, but press your knees away into your hands. So there's a resistance one to the other. And then press your legs away, hands to the top of your thighs, press back into your hands. So there's a resistance there. So you'll pull your knees in, but resist back against your hands, and then press your knees away, but resist back with your legs against your hands. And just do a few rounds there. And then stack your knees over your hips again, and arms come up, and now straighten your legs. Drop your right leg, right arm out to the right, as long as you can keep your pelvis level, and then bring it back up to center. And then left leg, left arm, keep the pelvis level. So we're all going to probably go a different distance. So you really want to keep the pelvis from lifting in these first rounds. So see if you can coordinate the arm and the leg moving at the same time. And then right leg, right arm will start to move out to the right, and you're going to let them go and just flop over to the right. Same thing, stack legs, stack hands one on top of the other. Slide your left hand across your upper body until you're open into a twist with legs straight. If that's too much for you, you can bend your knees. Now draw your left side ribs down towards the floor and attempt to aim your belly button, your navel at the ceiling. Take a couple breaths in this twist, this opening. Great. And then you could bend your top leg for this, so you don't do too much. Have that be have that long lever on your back, and then open up, back up, stacking knees above your hips, but straighten the legs, straighten the arms. And now let your left leg move out with your left arm until you can't keep the right hip down anymore, and then flop over to the left, stacking legs and stacking hands. Draw your right hand across your upper body until you can open up into a twist. And your legs might be They might be perpendicular to your body or a little bit more pointed down, just depending on your flexibility in your hamstrings. Draw your navel back towards center, so you're trying to sort of point up to the ceiling with your navel. And then bending your top leg, come back up to center. Take the soles of your feet to the floor and take your hands to the top of your thighs and just press into your thighs. Create a little space between the top of your thighs and your hip pointers, front of the pelvis. Great. And then you're going to grab a block. Take right knee, bend right knee, and bring right elbow to the block. So the block's on the top of your thigh, and you've got the other leg bent and on the floor. Press into the thigh, press into the block with both your knee and your elbow. Feel that engagement. You could straighten the opposite leg. Keep pressing. Soften your face. Release. Switch the block to the other leg. So elbow into the block. Block is at your top of your thigh, and opposite foot can be on the floor, and then just press. Press into the block. With your elbow, pull back with your leg. Feel the action in your deep core muscles. Stretch the right leg long. Soften your face. 2 more breaths. And release. Take both feet to the floor. Squeeze the block between your hands and just take the block behind your head. Any amount is fine. And then stretch the legs long. Pull toes back to shins. And then bend the knees, take the soles of the feet to the floor. And now bend your knees again. Let's see, keep your right sole of your foot on the floor. Take your block to your left thigh, and then take your right elbow to your left thigh. So you're going to cross your body. Now press your elbow into the block back into elbow. And you could leave the right foot as it is, or you could take that leg long. And now we're calling on the obliques a little bit more, the side waist. Release. Opposite side. Block to the leg. Right leg, left elbow to the block. Squeeze. And this might be just where you need to be today. And maybe the left leg could go long. Soften your face. You can feel heat building even though we're not moving a lot, which is good. And then we want that heat to expand out to the periphery. So take your soles of your feet back to the floor, block between your hands, reach block over your head, stretch legs long. Let the heat move all through your body. Great. And then from here, let's roll over to one side or rock up to a seat. Okay, and go ahead and take Sukhasana, easy seat. And if you can, take your hands, just pick up one hip and set your couple fingers right underneath your sit bones. So you're perched kind of on I'm using my I'm kind of perched my sit bones on my index finger and my middle finger. There we go. So there, that's the ischial tuberosity. And that's, for lack of a better term, I'm thinking about north, south, east, west. We'll call the sit bones east and west, right? That is east and west of the pelvic floor. So really feel that. Now, can you get a sense of trying to draw the sit bones towards one another? You probably won't feel any real movement, but you might start to feel some of the muscles of the pelvic floor engaging. Okay, and you could slip your hands out, find your pubic bone again, and then find your tailbone. That's north-south of the pelvic floor. That's the north-south direction, okay? Using the same map analogy. And draw those 2 points towards one another. All right. So now just relax for a minute, because it is kind of a lot of work, actually. So our really deep stabilizing core muscles, pelvic floor is one. Okay, all the muscles of the pelvic floor. So here again, sitting up nice and tall, could you gather everything in the pelvic floor together? So like you're pulling your sit bones towards one another, and you're pulling your pubic bone and your tailbone towards one another. And it might help to close your eyes here. Gather there. And release. Do it a couple times. So you can do it on the exhale. I find it a little easier to do on the exhale. And then on the inhale, release. Or you could do the opposite. Just feel for some breath movement combination. Okay, good. So really important area to keep toned and strong. So now take your hands back to that same position we had on the floor. So I've got my hands, the heel of my hands on the outside edge of my belly, and my fingers moving inside. And on my exhale, I want to draw my fingers towards one another. Okay, so I've got my little bag right here, if you're looking at the screen at all, but it's like tightening, a bag that has the little pull string on it, right? That's what we're doing, or the corset, whatever image works best for you. But take a couple rounds. So inhaling, you expand, and on the exhale, you draw the sides in towards one another, and you zip up this whole area, like you're trying to pull the fingers towards one another. Expanding on the inhale, and then now you've got your thumbs near your floating ribs. As you draw in this time, can you, almost like you're trying to draw your shirt away from your fingers, or your ribs away from your thumbs, right? You're just drawing everything in, pulling the low ribs, the floating ribs in towards one another. Right? Very good. Take a couple more, just a couple more. Okay, so now the next time, let's take our hands away and see if you can get that same feeling. So as you inhale, let everything expand and open up. And then as you exhale, draw everything in like you're cinching up the corset, draw your pelvic floor up. Take your left hand to the floor, keep your right sit bone on the floor, and open up to the left. Inhale to sweep the right arm up, and exhale, release hands to your thighs. Take one more round here just to find all that engagement again. And then as you exhale and you draw pelvic floor up, ribs, low ribs in, side waist in, take your right hand to the floor and open up to the right. Keep the left sit bone on the floor. Inhale back up. Exhale, hands to your thighs, and let's move to hands and knees. And here just take some cat-cows. So we're going to revisit the tilt in the pelvis here in a little bit, but just take some cat-cows. Good, and then pressing into your hands, pressing into your knees, find neutral spine. So in a neutral spine, neutral pelvis, we don't want the tucked under look, right? And we don't want the tucked up look. We want somewhere in the middle there. So now pull low ribs in, pull pelvic floor up and in. So gather the pelvic floor. Turn your toes under and just lift your knees off the floor. And hold that engagement. And release. Tops of the feet to the floor. Stretch your hips back towards your heels. Reach your hands forward. Keep the engagement. So we don't always have to have 100% engagement in the core. In fact, that's not really good for us. So as you practice with the breath, exhaling to engage and inhaling to release, see if you can sort of back off eventually, like not having it have to be super like 100% engagement, but more somewhere between, say, 30 and 40% engagement. All right, hands down to the floor, turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Now, tilt the pubic bone towards the navel so you have the posterior tilt, right? So tailbone down towards floor, then over exaggerate the other way, and then find the middle. Okay, take your forearms to the floor, interlacing your fingers, and then walk your feet back, forearm plank. Now, in the forearm plank, planks are great for really engaging that corset action. So that's the transverse abdominis working. So it's like that corset action again. Really draw everything in towards midline. Gather your pelvic floor. And you might check in if you've got tail tucked down or up too much. Can you find neutral? Press into your forearms. Let your core be the driver here. Okay, pressing. And then we'll walk feet up towards elbows in dolphin. Get a little rest. You should really be aware that you're not having to work quite as hard when you come to dolphin. Great. Then here we'll drop knees, reach hips back to heels, hands forward, and let everything spread and expand out to the rest of your body, through your fingertips, all that heat you just built. Let your back really relax, open. And then inhale back up to table. Take the weight into your left hand and bring your right elbow and your left knee together. Squeeze like you had the block. Squeeze into one another. Now using more of the rectus abdominis. Release. Weight into your right hand, bring your left elbow and your right knee towards one another and squeeze. And release. Take your forearms to the floor. Interlace your forearms. Release the pinkies. Take your feet back. Come back to forearm plank. Draw the pelvic floor up. Draw the side ribs in, like you're cinching up a bag or you're putting a corset on, and that would be horrible, wouldn't it? Back of the neck long. Take a glance in your mind's eye. If you're clenching at the butt, okay, that's not really a core stabilizer. You really want to use transverse abdominis, pelvic floor muscles, and then what's your position of your pelvis? Walk your feet up towards your elbows in dolphin. Keep drawing the shoulder blades away from each other, protraction, but you should get some rest here. And then knees to the floor. Gently set your hips back to child's pose. Arms can be out in front or to your sides. Just let everything move from the middle to the periphery. You might even feel some nice tingling in your fingers. Right, and then come back up to all fours. Take your right foot back, turn your toes under, and then take your left foot out like a kickstand. And we'll turn here and just feel the side, the obliques working. So draw your hips up. See if you can feel like you're drawing your side waist up towards your middle. And you could stack the top arm. This is just a version of side plank. Good. And then we'll come back to the floor. Stretch the left leg long, turn the right leg out, and just come to the other side. Lifting side waist up towards midline. Stacking the top arm if you want. And back to all fours. Good. Now from here, let's step our feet back and come into plank. And let's do the same thing. Let's play with the same thing. If you tuck your tail under, or you get too much arch in your low back, find midline, or find the middle ground there. Then gather the pelvic floor, zip up through the middle. So feel like you're cinching that drawstring. Press back, downward facing dog. Okay. And then from this downward facing dog, one more time, down to the knees, set back to child's pose. Let everything just move through you from the core to the periphery. And then from that child's pose, let's come up to all fours and to downward facing dog. Rock forward into the high plank. Turn both heels to the left and lift your side body. Lift the side body up. So from here, you could spin open to side plank, or you could keep the hands still on the floor. Come back to high plank. Find the neutral position in the pelvis. Turn both heels to the right. You could stay here and just keep the hips lifted, or come into Vasisthasana, side plank. Come back to plank, downward facing dog. Drop one forearm to the floor, the other forearm to the floor, and come to dolphin. Drop knees to the floor. Rest your hips back. Keep your arms extended in puppy pose. Inhale, come to all fours. Turn toes under. Press up, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands and widen through your stance and come to Malasana, a squat. Okay, so we're going to set back onto our hips and do sort of a baby Navasana. So you can hold the back of your legs, and then you'll rock to your feet, pull your hands forward, come to Malasana. And then we'll go back and forth a few times between those two shapes. Now we have more the rectus abdominis working. When we pull the pubic bone towards the navel, we contract those muscles in the front, the APAC. Next time you're in Malasana, stay there. Take your hands to the floor, press your hips up, forward fold. Now take your hands to your hips, and as you come up to standing, can you really draw that whole corset action? Draw everything in as you stand up to standing. And then release your hands to Tadasana. Great. And then let's step the left foot back, right foot forward, and come into warrior one legs. Inhale, reach the arms up, but draw the low ribs in. Exhale, you're going to fold forward and bring the arms behind your back. Inhale, reach up. Draw low ribs in. Exhale, fold forward. From here, you'll take your left hand to the floor, right hand to your hip, or stack arms in a twist. Draw the left side body up. Exhale, hands down around the front foot, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, rock forward, high plank. Find neutral pelvis. Gather everything in. Press your hips back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg out behind you. And as you round and rock forward, bring your left foot between your hands and turn the back foot out. Press up, warrior one on this side. Inhale, reach the arms up, draw the low ribs in. Exhale, you'll fold forward, bring your arms behind you. Engage here, engage at the core, engage the pelvic floor. So draw everything up and in. And inhale, sweep up. Exhale, fold. Take your right hand to the floor and take left hand to hip. This could be your twist, or you could stack your arms. Inhale. Exhale, hands down around the front foot, step back, downward facing dog. Come forward into high plank. Find the neutral pelvis. Drop both heels to the left and sweep up in Vasisthasana. Pull the side waist that's towards the floor. Pull that up towards midline. Lift the hips. Inhale. Exhale, back to plank. Take the heels to the right. Come up on the other side. And back to plank. Back to downward facing dog. Inhale, drop your knees to the floor. Exhale, keep the hands extended. Puppy pose, hips back towards the heels. Feel your belly against your legs. And then inhale back to all fours. Turn toes under, press up and back, downward facing dog. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Drop your hips and come into fierce pose, Utkatasana. Press yourself up. Ardha Hastasana, all the way extended up. Take your time. And exhale, hands through heart center to your sides, Tadasana. Inhale to sweep your arms up. And exhale, fold back down into chair pose. Draw pelvic floor up. Great. Now from this chair pose, we can take hands to hips. We'll wrap the right leg over the left leg and come into eagle legs. Draw everything in. Draw your pelvic floor up and in. Draw your legs together. Squeeze the legs together. And the foot can rest on the floor. Right arm sweeps underneath left arm. You can just hug yourself, back of the hands together, or full wrap, and hold this eagle pose. Then we're going to unwrap the arms, bring them out to the side or up to your waist, and as you press up, lift the right leg up. So you're standing. Now, draw the pelvic floor up. Draw the side ribs in. And from that position, take your right foot into Vrksasana. Falling is legal. Maybe it's on the floor today or your foot. Reach the arms up. But keep the core engaged. So balance is really, really dependent on a nice strong core. Release your right foot to the floor. The hands stay up. Exhale through center. Hands to the floor. Step back. Downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, explore again the pelvis and the neutral pelvis. So shoulders are protracted, they're moving away from each other. Good. Walk your hands back to your feet. Drop your hips, hands come forward. You're in chair pose, Uttanasana. And then from that chair pose, we'll take opposite side eagle. So left, for me, that's left leg over right. You can rest your foot right on the floor, squeeze everything in. Left arm underneath right arm, hugging yourself, back of the hands together or full wrap. Squeezing everything in. Then as you unwind, step up, lift left leg, and then place that foot in Vrksasana. Tree pose. Can you engage the pelvic floor here? Just enough. Don't have to overdo it. You might even take your hands to your tummy here and feel for that same engagement. Low ribs in. Inhale the arms up. Release the foot to the floor. Hasta. Hasta Uttanasana. Arms up. Exhale, fold through center. Hands to the floor. Step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg out behind you. Draw the left hip in. And then exhale, sweep the right foot forward between your hands. Turn your back foot and windmill the arms up into warrior two. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale, exalted warrior. Inhale, sweep forward, straighten the front leg, tilt into triangle. Inhale as you sweep forward, bend the front knee, warrior two. And then a big mandala switch, warrior two on the other side. Inhale, sweep the arm forward, front arm forward. Exhale, exalted warrior. Inhale, sweep forward as you straighten the front leg and just tilt hand to shin or the thigh, triangle. Inhale back to warrior two. And then both feet turn to be parallel to each other. Inhale the arms up and exhale, take a fold. Hands right underneath your sternum. Draw the pelvic floor up here. Pull the feet towards one another isometrically. Feel the inner thighs working. Walk your hands forward. So you're in the downward facing dog with upper body. Legs are wide. And then you can heel toe your feet together just a bit more and drop your knees. Drop your knees, drop the shins, and reach back with your hips. So the knees are wide here, and you're just reaching back with your hips coming towards the floor. You might not come to the floor, and reach the forearms out in front. So kind of moving towards frog pose here. Some of you might be able to splay the knees out and come all the way to your sit bones. Just take it easy here. Great. And then from here, we'll just slide everything towards center and come into Sphinx. Now, gather the pelvic floor, but don't over clench the buttocks here. Just gather the pelvic floor and make that cinching action through your midline, through the middle, just like we did on our back. Just do that here too. Draw your shoulders away from your ears. And then we'll slowly lower and bring hands to the side of the body. Press your pubic bone into the floor. Feel how when you do that, it sort of draws the belly away from the floor a bit. And maybe you can get that action of drawing sideways in. Gather the pelvic floor and then lift. Lift head and shoulders. Lift arms, lift legs. So the other core, really core stabilizing muscles are the multifidi. Had to search for it there. And they run along the spine. The multifidi. Take your hands beside your low ribs. Press yourself up and slowly back to child's pose. And let your head come in here, relax your head. And coming up to your hands and knees, let's come to sitting. Soles of the feet to the floor, hands behind. And we're going to press up into reverse table. And then see if you can come sliding through with your, probably have to have your fingers facing forward. Come sliding through without your booty touching the floor. And press yourself up and then sit. Okay, so we'll do that again. Let's see. So you press yourself up into reverse table. And then you can come sliding through, hips come through without touching the floor. Hold yourself up and set down. Good. Move the flesh away from your sit bones. Really feel your sit bones on the floor. Draw sit bones towards one another. Gather the pelvic floor. So here in the Standasana, even though it seems like a relatively simple pose, lots going on. You could take your hands back to your waist here and feel for the gathering at your core, working the transverse abdominis. And then slightly folding forward. Maybe at the end, just releasing down, tucking your head, tucking your chin in. Lifting up, let's slide everything forward. And here, if you want to, you could come to a hip balance. You could come to Navasana and go through Ardha Navasana. And we'll make our way all the way back down to the floor. Stretch everything long. Pull toes back towards shins and do a little bit of back and forth movement. Just allowing a little bit of release in the core. And then soles of the feet back to the floor. And let's go back to that same beginning position. All right, so we'll take leg and arm out to the side a few times. You could have your knees bent here or the legs straight. One at a time. And then the next time that you're headed in one direction, let everything just fall open into that direction and bring opposite leg and arm over. Slide your top hand across your body and open up into a twist. So you could have the knees bent here or the legs straight. And then just see if you can let your navel sort of move towards, it's like a scooping action over towards the open side. So that the navel is pointing at the ceiling almost. And you'll come back to center. Same thing. Let the opposite side open up until you just fall over to that side. And then slide top hand across body until you're open into a twist on the other side. Begin to unwind from the center out. You can inhale, top leg back up, and anything else that feels like it would be supportive for you here. Happy baby. Some supported cooling inversion like legs up the wall, or just setting up a block right underneath your sacrum and doing a supported shoulder stand that way. And then just sort of rocking yourself down into Shavasana, letting yourself just release everything down to the floor. And so now no over gripping anywhere. No over gripping, overworking. Just let everything relax. And receive the work. Receive the work throughout your body. So we know that physiologically, even if we're not doing yoga, 1 hour time, we're different. Let yourself receive the changes. Certainly you've created a little fire and heat in your body. You've moved some things around, maybe created some more space. Just receive that gift. And then just an invitation to set your hands on your belly and give gratitude for the way that we are so wonderfully made. We have these incredible bodies that support us, being bipeds, being able to stand and walk and bend and twist and climb and dance. So gratitude for the core. You could take a few just humming ohms, just feeling the vibration through your body. Do that on the exhale. So inhale through the nostrils. And do let that, after a couple, just really let that vibration move all through your body. You can stay where you are. If you'd like to join me in a seat, take your time rolling to one side. May the merit of our practice, the work that we do on the magic carpet here, may that encourage us and encourage all those in whom we come with contact to unveil, to peel back, to reveal the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.